Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today we've got some pretty big changes coming to Mythic Plus Season 2. In an earlier video, we covered the 3 affixes that are being removed and the 3 that are being added in. They have listened to feedback and they have made changes accordingly, but we also do have another change that they're making to Season 2 Mythic Plus that is a pretty big shakeup for what is probably going to be the larger population of WoW Mythic Plus players. Before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It goes such a long way towards helping out the channel. I cannot do this without the love and support of my patrons. Thank you so much. If you wish to support me directly, there is a Patreon link down below. As well, there's a Discord link if you want to ask questions, come on by, hang out with a wonderful community full of great people, all that fun stuff. There's a tank club link down below if you want written guides for all the tanks. I'm writing as much as I can. There's constant stuff being put up there for World of Warcraft. And lastly, if you want to watch me stream, there is a Twitch link down below. So let's get into some of these changes. So we did cover the fact that they are removing 3 affixes from our current rotation and they are adding 3 new ones. Incorporeal is one of them, which is now immune to damage and has more consistent spawn behavior. The developer's note is the Incorporeal affix plays a similar role to Afflicted, which we'll cover in a bit, but with an emphasis on crowd control utility. A few things we're hoping to smooth out include both the rate at which these spawn, sometimes too many at once, which is a very good thing to be aware of, and the ease in which crowd control can be accidentally broken once applied. We are discussing a change to incorporeal beings that would cause them to fade away when combat with non-incorporeal beings has ended. I really do hope this needs to happen. This last part needs to happen. There's no reason to be dealing with an affix once the main part of your dungeon is done, because there is always the thing is, there's always the mindset is, are you playing the affix or are you playing the dungeon? And in Mythic Plus, I want to play the dungeon. We have 8 new dungeons I want to get into and play. I don't want my pull to last longer because I'm dealing with an affix, right? Even with Spitefuls, once the combat's done, we just run away from Spitefuls. There's no reason to deal with the affix anymore unless healer needs mana or we have to res, which does lose time, but that can be played around. Not having the ability to play around an affix or just ignore it if we so choose, especially once combat with the actual dungeon mobs are done, that's going to feel incredibly bad. I really do hope that they can go ahead with this change, but they are actively aware and looking at feedback, which is really, really nice. Afflicted affix now has less health and has more consistent spawn behavior. Really, really good all around. The developer's note on this is the Afflicted affix is meant to incentivize a greater focus on dispel utility while also offering players with healing spells an alternative solution in cases where dispel availability is more limited or where other enemies have threatening dispellable abilities. Yeah, because there's always Afflicted on Thunderhead. I mean, I know Ruby Life Pools isn't going to be in the rotation, but if an Afflicted comes out during Thunderhead, while Rolling Thunder is up, the next 2 dispels from the healer are 1000% spoken for, and Afflicted is literally not going to be able to be touched. And if there's scenarios like that in Season 2, that's really not good. But this way, I mean, honestly, prop paladins are going to be so fucking good on Afflicted. It's unreal. This is mostly working out, but their health, especially at higher key levels, is a bit too high for healing and feel like a practical option. This is good. They're aware. They're making changements. I do think they are going to be making some changes soon, some more along the way once the general population gets into things and really gets to test it. I don't think this is the worst affix. It seems kind of not fun, but I mean, Brewmasters, Bears, and Paladins, y'all are looking really, really good for this set of affixes. Entangling. While in combat, Entangling Vines snare players. Developers note, we're keeping an eye on the potency of the snare and required response from players to successfully, it's supposed to be to successfully snap the vine with movement. We are also looking to improve visual clarity and audio cues for the Entangling affix. This is good. We do need to know it is there. It needs to be visual. Even an auditory, like actually hearing vines come up and grabbing us would be good. This is one I'm really, As a DPS or caster, I'm not too worried about this. As a tank, I'm worried about this. Again, this comes to, like, if we have another Croth-like boss, which, you know, we'll see. But movement-intensive bosses. Now, there's also the question of, is Croth as bad as it is because it's the way it's designed, or because we added Thundering on top of? There's a lot of different things to see there, but again, I think this can be dealt with, like, freedom and stuff like that. Paladins, man. Paladins just have everything for all of these next season. It's wild. But, I mean, honestly, this isn't the worst affix. It's going to be not super fun for the week, but it's also probably not going to destroy most keys. This on, like, Temple of Jade Serpent, Wise Mari either, that would be terrible. Like, Storming already has me not wanting to go into that dungeon at all. Explosive Affix now has less health and more consistent spawn behavior. Developers' feedback. We've heard... developers' notes. We've heard feedback both that explosives in their new form have too much health and that in general it makes sense to try and ignore them, thus making them a healer problem in a different way than before. We are discussing a redesign for the explosive affix to shift responsibility away from healers. The proposed change would cause explosives to instead shield creatures for a percentage of the remaining health when the cast is complete. This is interesting. Okay, so the proposed change would cause explosives instead to shield creatures for a percentage of the explosive's health remaining when the cast is complete. That is going to force every DPS to swap to explosive as fast as possible. Because that doesn't sound fun. But at the same point, like, here we have thus making them a healer problem. I don't think there's a way to make explosives not a healer problem in keys. It's either they have too much health and we're just going to let them go off and it's a healer problem because they're going to have to heal it up, or they're just going to not have enough health that it's going to be worth swapping to, and then again remaining a healer problem. Now, if you've watched my videos, I know I've been saying forever, everyone should be helping out with explosives, especially in pug groups. If you are in a well-organized group that, you know, 5-man, you play well together, you're all in comms, it's pretty much going to be relegated to your healer at that point. But if you are in a full 5-man pug, help with fucking explosives. So whatever. But I don't think there's a change that can really, really be a good benefit or make it better than it is now. Because that's kind of the problem, right? Is they're trying to make this not a healer problem, but the affix, the way it's designed, conceptually, is pretty much relegated to being a healer problem. And that feels really bad. Honestly, I would have loved to just see explosive go and, like, quaking stroll. But, you know, just keep volcanic or something. I don't know. Explosive's not fun. It's not fun to deal with. Shielding enemies, I mean, they need to be... The big problem with explosives, they need to be hit by more abilities. If you want to give them more health, that's fine, but they need to be hit by more abilities. Like, I understand I need to be targeting them, but if I am targeting an explosive and I hit Thunderclap, I should be able to do damage to that explosive, right? It should not be full single target abilities, and there are some specs out there that have an insanely hard time to do this, like very difficult. Not to mention the current version of explosive, unless my throw glaive crits on vengeance, I literally can't one-shot it, which feels terrible. Do you have any idea how bad it is to see an explosive off in the distance that's about to go off and you throw your throw glaive and it hits and you're like, okay, cool. And it has 3% health left and it goes off and you just kind of like, fuck. Like, god damn it. That sucked. Developers note on so this is in addition to the explosive above. In addition to the above, we are discussing a change to the progression of affixes on keystones, with item rewards now increasing up to level 20. We're evaluating which level affixes are added to keystones. This is really big. Our proposed change would delay when affixes are added to keystones. This is to give players more time to acclimate to baseline dungeons before additional mechanics come online, and to better match the complexity of a Mythic Plus dungeon to the rewards it offers. So with this, the current level 4 affixes would actually only be at level 7, and the current level 7 affixes and the new ones, would only be active on 14s. This is huge. This is currently 4 and 7. Going from 4 and 7 to 7 and 14 is really, really big. But this is also going to make level 14 to 15 dungeons even more shit shows than they already are. Honestly, I've been saying on stream, and I've been saying this for a long time, that the hardest dungeons to do in Pug is the 11 to 15 rated, like around there, 11 to 14s. Because you just have a lot of people that have no clue what's going on. Now, there is the seasonal affix that is tied to that as well, which adds a layer of complexity that we're not going to have in Season 2. But at the same time, the affixes are currently in level 7, and they're being ignored by a majority of the Pug population in those dungeons, and it feels like it's really bad. I think this is going to be good for players that know what they're doing. This is going to be fine. For players that do not know what they're doing, and we all know how many Pugs don't know what they're doing, this is going to make that second level of affix bracket even more of a shit show than it already is. And I'm not going to lie, I'm thinking about that now, and that fucking frightens the shit out of me. Like, it actually scares me. What's going to be going on in, like, when you hit a level 14 dungeon and you're like, oh no, like, what is happening? What is over? But yeah, so there is some benefits to these. There is going to be the downside. I think more organized groups, this isn't going to change anything at all, especially if you're currently running anything 16 plus and you don't touch anything below a 16 right now anyway. This is going to change absolutely nothing for you. But it is good to know that they are listening to feedback, and they are trying to make active changes to make these affixes, these new affixes, better, bearable, and everything like that. Again, I think my biggest problem here is with the explosive affix, but, well, that's a whole, you know, I've said my piece. I've said my piece. If you guys want more, I could talk about this more at a later time. But yeah, so there is some problems and there's a lot of good, but there are some problems still yet to fix. But big news for Mythic Plus players all around. That is the news for today. I hope you have yourself a good day, everyone, and happy tanking. Bye.